New Jersey is home to a wide range of roller coasters, giant Intamins, big B&Ms, and compact launch coasters, just to name a few. Over the years, I have ridden every single operating roller coaster in New Jersey except an SBF Visa spinner at Fantasy Island, a mountain coaster at Mountain Creek Water Park, and the Pinfari Looper at Keansburg Amusement Park. This list will rank the top 25 roller coasters I have personally ridden in New Jersey. Most of these coasters are still operating, but there will be also a few defunct ones on the list. Number 25, Timmys Halfpipe Havoc at Nickelodeon Universe. One of the rare Intamin halfpipes, this coaster feels like a supersized flat ride. The ride offers some solid whip if you spin during the launches, and you also get some decent weightlessness atop the tower. I know a lot of people would have probably placed this ride higher, but the repetitive nature of this ride places it at the bottom of the list for me. Number 24, Dark Knight at Six Flags Great Adventure. This Wild Mouse in a Box is a top tier Wild Mouse coaster for me. While the theming cannot compare with a Disney coaster, it does add to the experience, especially the jump scare towards the end of the ride. And then the mouse itself is quite good too. There are no brakes in the top section, resulting in some good laterals, and the ride is really smooth too. Now, these next three coasters have extremely similar names. Number 23, Runaway Train at Gillian's Wonderland Pier. Removed after the 2018 season, this coaster was extremely compact. The long train combined with the tight elements resulted in some good whip if you're sitting towards the back. And it was a reasonably smooth ride as well. Number 22, Runaway Tram at Maurice Piers. This coaster's theme is fittingly goofy and epitomizes Wildwood. And the coaster itself was better than I expected. It's smooth, has a tiny pop of air on the second hill, and the turns have some decent force to them. Plus, you get 2 laps. Watch the tram car, please. Number 21, Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Great Adventure. This coaster is a tale of two halves. The first half is a slow, shuffling mess, but the second half is quite good. The last 3 drops give nice airtime in the back. The final bunny hill specifically gives abrupt ejector airtime no matter where you're sitting. That final bunny hill is no joke. Number 20, Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure. While Six Flags genuinely did a decent job theming Dark Knight, Skull Mountain is a spectacular disaster. The exterior looks incredible with the iconic skull and waterfalls, but there's barely anything on the inside. You just have a skull with rainbow eyes and heavy metal music. But if you ride in the back, the first drop gives a wild pop of airtime, and a few of the other turns have decent whip to them, especially because you can barely see them coming in the dark. Number 19, Shredder at Nickelodeon Universe. I'm mixed on this coaster. On one hand, I love the long layout and interactions with Shellraiser, and it's possible to get some decent spinning, for a few brief bits, if you have an off-balance car. On the other hand, the ride's frequent brake runs hamper the pacing and spinning, and it has a pretty bad rattle as well. Number 18, Rolling Thunder at Six Flags Great Adventure. I rode Rolling Thunder a few times over the years, and usually it was a slow, screeching bore. But my last rides on it occurred during a downpour, so it had more speed than usual. The first half was still dull, but the returning bunny hills had some nice floater airtime, especially since this was a rare Six Flags wood coaster that operated until its end with just buzz bars. While I missed my final rides on Rolling Thunder, I know those rides weren't the norm. Number 17, Hellcat at Clementon Park. I wish I could have ridden this coaster in its opening year before it tore itself apart, as it has a really dynamic layout designed by none other than Alan Schilke. When I rode it in 2017, I got some decent rides up front. It shuffled, but it wasn't uncomfortable up front, and there was some good airtime despite the ride being trimmed. But my ride in the back was among the worst rides I've had on any coaster. This spot is because of my front row rides, but I hope Clementon Park is one day saved and Hellcat can be restored to its original glory. Number 16, Nickelodeon Slime Streak at Nickelodeon Universe. This coaster is all about the visuals. It's exciting, flying above the midways of Nickelodeon Universe. And it's a dynamic ride too. It doesn't have any airtime or intense forces, but it holds its speed until the very end, and it's always bobbing in one direction or another. and the first drop in particular has some great whip if you're in the back. Number 15, Wild Waves of Playland's Castaway Cove. This coaster suffers from one of the same strengths and weaknesses as Shredder. On one hand, the interactions with the nearby Gale Force creates some exciting visuals, but on the other hand, it has one brake run after another, killing the ride's pacing. Thankfully, Wild Waves is fairly smooth, and if you're sitting up front, you get several nice spots of airtime, particularly on the final bunny hill. Number 14, Joker at Six Flags Great Adventure. I genuinely enjoy SNS free spins, and Joker is no different. The ride experience is chaotic, with lots of rocking and a few well-timed flips, but it remains comfortable at all times. Number 13, Hydras at Casino Pier. Hydras fixes everything wrong with Canopy Lake Park's Untamed. First and foremost, this coaster has lap bar only trains, so there's zero headbanging. Second, the violent transition into the final helix is removed, and this was done by removing that final helix entirely and instead going straight into the brake run, giving a quick pop of airtime. But then you still have the best bits, the great ejector airtime on the beyond vertical drop, the crushing G's at the bottom of the drop, and the hang time on the vertical loop and inline twist. Plus, you also have a wonderful setting overlooking the ocean. Number 12, Great White at Maury's Piers. The operators were stapling to the extreme during my visit to Maury's, but Great White was still a solid wood coaster. I loved the location on the beach, and the first half had some nice laterals. And then the second half had a few decent airtime hills to contrast with the first half. I just wish I could have experienced more of that airtime and wasn't stapled to the extreme. Number 11, Bizarro at Six Flags Great Adventure. The original B&M floorless coaster is still a solid ride. The Zero G roll is still one of the wildest ones out there, and the final two corkscrews are decently forceful with a great head chopper. The other elements are sort of forgettable up front, but in the back, they either have more power to them, or they offer a pinch of hang time at the top. And despite being 2 decades old, the coaster is still running smoothly. Number 10, Great Noreaster at Maury's Piers. You may be shocked to see a Vekoma SLC in the top 10, but this is no regular SLC. Maury's Piers spent $5 million before the 2017 season to smooth the coaster out, and it worked wonders. With the new track and trains, this SLC is genuinely smooth. That allowed me to actually appreciate the snappy transitions without risk of snapping my neck. Oh, and this one also has countless near misses with the adjacent attractions. Number 9, Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Great Adventure. Superman earned this spot mostly because of the pretzel loop. The G's in that inversion are insane. The rest of the ride is a smooth, graceful, and pleasant journey that always puts a smile on my face. Number 8, Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure. I genuinely like stand-up coasters, and Green Lantern is one of the best ones out there. The valleys in between the inversions deliver crushing positive G's and make my legs feel like jelly. I know that sensation isn't appealing to everyone, but I appreciate the ride's sheer power. And if you can get the over-the-shoulder restraint below your ears like I can, you can avoid the head banging. I have a separate video on the technique you need to do to get this to happen. Number 7, TMNT Shellraiser in Nickelodeon Universe. Based on my 2019 rides, Shellraiser would have placed a few spots higher, but my most recent rides were quite shaky. That being said, I still enjoy Shellraiser because of its diverse forces. You have a forceful launch, decent hang time on the large inversions, and incredible ejector airtime on the world's steepest drop. Number 6, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. Yes, this ride has been cloned a dozen times, but Batman is still one of the better inverts. The ride is ridiculously forceful. The vertical loops always have me seeing gray, and the other 3 inversions were very snappy as well. Plus the turns make my legs go numb. And the coaster is still very smooth even after all these years. Number 5, Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove. My 2020 rides in Gale Force had the opposite effect of Shellraiser. The retracking after the 2017 season transformed this once shaky coaster into a smooth experience. Gale Force has a lackluster launch, but the ride has some powerful ejector airtime, and the quick changes of direction are extremely disorienting. Plus, you get 2 laps for double the fun. Number 4, Sandy's Blasting Bronco at Nickelodeon Universe. It's a coin flip if I prefer this or Gale Force, but I went with Sandy's because it has the stronger launch. The launch on Sandy's blasting Bronco packs a serious punch, especially during the backwards launch. And then the ride's 3 implements all feel distinctly different. 2 focus on hang time, while 1 has airtime and vicious laterals. The ride does have a vibration in the high G spots, but it doesn't cause me an issue thanks to the open restraints. Number 3, Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. This ride is over in a flash, but it's an adrenaline rush in its purest form. The launch is among the most forceful on the planet, and few sensations are better than having your cheeks flap in the wind from the sheer force of a 128 mph launch. And the top hat is pretty good too, offering a pop of airtime over the top and strong laterals on the way down. Number 2, Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. One of the first B&M hypers, Nitro is still a great coaster. The ride has an isolated setting in the woods, and every drop gives some decent sustained floater airtime. The ride is extremely re-rideable and a nice contrast to El Toro on the other side of the park. The one criticism I have for Nitro is that it's usually not all that intense, but if you ride it during holiday in the park in sub-freezing conditions, it feels like it's trying to rip your face off. It feels like a completely different ride. And number 1 is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. New Jersey's top coaster is one of the best wooden coasters in the world. El Toro has 4 of the best moments on any coaster: the insane first drop, the subsequent 2 camelbacks, and the rolling Thunderhill. The sustained ejector airtime on these elements is unmatched. While the middle and twister sections don't quite reach the levels of the aforementioned elements, El Toro's best moments carry the ride, which is why it's number 1. For now. This could all change when Six Flags Great Adventure opens the Jersey Devil Coaster in 2021. I can't wait to ride this coaster next year, and if it's paced anything like the original RMC Raptors, or has the ejector airtime like the original Raptors, it'll probably assume the top spot for me. But until then, this is how I rank my favorite roller coasters in the state of New Jersey. How do you rank your favorites in New Jersey? Or what are your thoughts on any of the coasters on this list? I would love to hear what you think down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you gave it a like and considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.